Hi, and welcome to my channel. In 2004, I was given a directive in a dream, which I believe came from God. I was told to get out of the city, get off the beaten trail. People will be shooting at each other in the streets. And this really alarmed me, and I began to seek God to give me more guidance, to show me what this was about, because I didn't have a clue. It certainly sounded like some kind of conflict, a war, an invasion, people, a civil war in particular. And through further prayer and asking for guidance, I was given other dreams which lead me to believe there will be terrorist attacks in Canada and the US. In another dream, after seeking God, I was shown in a dream that every province in Canada already had some kind of terrorist cells set up. And I was shown in this dream that there were 42 terrorists, 42 men per terrorist cell, and that every province had it. And I'm assuming every state in the United States also has one of these. In another dream, I was shown that the terrorists were actually smuggling bomb parts into Canada in automobiles by breaking the bombs down to their smallest components and hiding them behind metal plates in imported cars. In another dream, I was shown that terrorists would they target soft targets like specifically museums and targets like bridges and malls, what you would call soft targets. They're not well defended. They're just places where a lot of people congregate. And I saw in this dream that they were going to coordinate an event, I believe all at the same time, that these different terrorist cells were going to attack in sync all together in Canada, in all these different places on soft targets. And I am going to say, I didn't see this in the dream, but I'm going to say this probably expands out to the United States. This will happen, and around the world, all the places where Muslims are moving into democratic countries. In another dream, which I had in maybe 2011 or 2012, I saw the Statue of Liberty lying on its side in the New York harbor after a series of explosions knocked it over. I know I'm kind of just rapid fire giving you dreams here, but I'm just trying to put this all out there together in one spot. There will be some other pieces that aren't in here, but I want the main stuff all in one video so you can see the connection between the dreams. In another dream, I was screaming at politicians, telling them how wicked and corrupt they were and that God was going to kill a lot of them. Actually, when I woke up from that particular dream, I remember thinking, in Canada, if a group of terrorists, let's say 42 men, just one cell is mentioned in that other dream, they arrived on Parliament Hill with machine guns. Could they take it over? They probably could. Before the military got there, I'm sure they could kill a lot of politicians. You may think this is kind of fear-mongering telling you these dreams, but this is something fearful for sure. And this is maybe not a topic for everybody, but I'm just telling you the dreams that I've had, and you can decide if they're from God or if it's fear-mongering or whatever you think of it. I really feel I need to share it because the Bible says, he who has a dream, let him share the dream. And that's what I'm trying to do, obey God on that one. And it may not even be from God. That's for you to decide. You can make up your own mind. I do believe it came from God, but you're entitled to your opinion too. Okay, in yet another dream, I was driving into Brockville, Ontario on the 401. I saw a banner over the 401 at Brockville, and it read, Southeastern Death Zone. I saw bomb craters around Brockville. I think this dream was showing me that the whole of the southern Ontario along the 401, a very beaten trail, will be a hot spot for the fighting and the shooting at each other in the streets, which was the original dream that I had that alerted me to this, that there was a problem at all. I had no clue prior to that. And for those people who think this is fear-mongering, I would like to explain something very important to you that you may not know. And it's the story of what happened to Lebanon when they were a democratic country that began welcoming in Muslims through immigration, and then the Muslims had large numbers of children. They have 8 or 9 children per family, very large families. And over time, they became, over, I believe, 30, 40 years, they became the majority of the population in Lebanon. And at the time when they became the majority of the population, they formed the government, an Islamic government with Islamic rules to replace the Christian Judeo rules, which I believe were there before. There certainly was freedom for women, freedom for everybody in a democracy. That all changed when they became the majority of the country, the majority population, and they changed the rules. Now, after they formed the government, this is the thing that should really concern you. And yes, this is fearful. They declared a jihad on all the non-Muslims, and they proceeded to murder all the infidel non-Muslims. And they did. They killed them all. And guess what? The peaceful Muslims joined in the slaughter. So if you think you can count on the peaceful Muslims when there's a jihad declared, you just can't be sure, because look what happened to Lebanon. And I'm afraid Lebanon may very well be the fate of every single democratic country who brings Muslims in large enough numbers where they can become the majority, form a government, bring in Sharia law, and yes, declare a jihad, which the Quran says you can do, on the non-Muslim infidel people. This happened in Lebanon. This could happen here. In fact, I know of two girls who were in a restaurant as waitresses, and a Muslim man came in, and he was a regular. And they went up to him and they said, "Sir, if there was a jihad called against the non-Muslims here in Canada, would you kill us? Would you murder us?" And he said, "Well, I wouldn't want to, but if a jihad was called, yes, I would obey Allah, the instructions of Allah, and yes, I would be forced to slaughter you." And that's right here in Canada. So there's people with this sentiment, and more of them are coming into the country. And another person that I know was out basically telling this little kid on the street in a small town in Ontario, a little Muslim boy, and she said, "You stop doing whatever it was he was doing." I don't know if he was throwing a rock at a dog or there was something. She didn't like it. And he said, "Well, I don't have to listen to you because we're going to kill all of you when we become the government," or something to that extent. When he grew up, when the Muslims took over, they were going to kill her. Now, this is a little wee kid, a 5-year-old maybe, something like that. And this is just hearsay, but this is what she said happened. So if you don't think that there's something closing in on you here, if you value your democracy and your culture, whoever becomes the majority calls the shots. Let's be honest. We've had a Christian democracy, a democracy that has been formed on Christian Judeo values. We believe in do not bear false witness against your neighbor. We believe all kinds of stuff that is simply not relevant to the Islam population. They have a completely different ideology. I don't really want this video to get extremely long, but there is one more thing I'd like to say. Over the last 500 years, when you have opposing ideologies, two powers in the world that conflict, let's say like communist China, Russia against democratic USA, or our USA, Canadian, North American democratic values versus Islam. Whenever big powers came together, they ultimately conflicted, and out of 16 times they went to war 12 times. So 16 times there were two opposing, I hope I'm explaining this right, two opposing major powers in the world. 12 times out of 16, they went to war, and the one side was completely annihilated. So our odds of not conflicting with Islam and communism in the world, what are they? What's that? 4 out of 16. We have 4 chances out of 16 of not going to war, with the result of one side being completely annihilated. Those are not very good odds. So, okay, that's the odds in overlooking at the last, 500 years. And they say those who don't observe history are doomed to repeat it. So that's it. That's the last of what I want to say. And this video is about to be too long, so it's getting very long. So I'm just going to end it here. Thank you for listening, and you have a great day if that's possible after hearing all this negative news. And God bless you.